video off the jump. Of course, fair use, fair use. This is for education and commentary purposes only. But hopefully it'll be fruitful for our learning. That's the goal here. So let me get ready to put this thing on. All right, here we go. I might have made it too big. Oh, did I share the right thing? Let me do that all over again. No, I didn't. All right, this is better. It might be too big. All right. Uh-oh. All right, here we go.
Fair use to.
And this guy hit on me, right?
Yes, fair use, fair use, fair use. So we see it already unhappily married. She's the main thing that we want to look at right now. Unhappily married. It's a little caption here. Here we go.
And this guy hit on me, right? So he said, hey, you married? And I was like, yes. And he said, you happy? And I was like, no, and the reason why I said no was because, one, I'm brutally honest, and two, I was not happy at the time. But what does me being unhappy have to do with whether or not you have a shot? Here's the thing I realized. A lot of married people don't know how to be unhappily married and still not walk away. If you could learn how to be unhappy for a minute, your marriage will last. Because the goal in marriage is not happiness. The goal is to build a lasting relationship that withstands the ebbs and flows of marriage, of relationships.
DeMarco, we need another one. Where's the
He
applause?
gets it.
Someone finally said it. No one gives a damn about your happiness. It's about making it work.
All right. All right. So that's a pretty important message, and we've been trying to bang that home. Though it can be pretty difficult, when you're in the midst of things, to understand that and realize that and live that. But that is absolutely the goal. And of course, not only in our marriages as our spouses, husbands and wives, but also in our marriage to Yahushua as Israel. It's not always peaches and roses or whatever any of those phrases are. Peaches and cream, I don't know. Anyway, it's not always happy times. Let's just put it that way. Huh?
Salakia.
It's all good. Go ahead.
No, I had the phone up on the live up on my phone to share it. Salakia.
Oh, okay. My bad, bro. I thought you were. All right, so as we know, it's not always it's not always happy times. It's a sacrifice to a certain extent, So when we think about it, like why do we sacrifice? Like why do we sacrifice? Anybody?
I got it.
All right, sis.
We sacrifice because we want to get to the kingdom of heaven.
Absolutely. And then even in and let's say we're not even talking spiritually. Why do you sacrifice? Like you why do you sacrifice something? I mean, you're right. Your answer was right.
Well, because nothing and nobody is perfect, and you have to work at it every day, and it's just like your job. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid.
Absolutely.
As simple as that.
So, now go ahead, dog.
I was gonna say, I wanted to chime in on that. I would say love could have a lot to do with that too.
Absolutely. Great answers from both of you. Mm-hmm. So when it's all said and done, we're typically sacrificing because there's something we want.
Mm-hmm.
Sister mentioned, income. So, hey, we want that income from our job. So we go through the things that we don't want to. We sacrifice our time. Sometimes we sacrifice our happiness so we can get that. The brother spoke about love. It's a sacrifice in order to obtain that sometimes, because you have to go through a lot of things in order to maintain those relationships, those love relationships, whether it's marriage, like the sister was talking about, spiritual, family, whatever the case is, so it's a sacrifice because there's something that we want. So when we say that sacrifice is noble, would we consider sacrifice a noble thing?
King.
God, okay.
I think, I mean,
why?
Salaki. I
Why
think
is it
it's noble because we looking for, you want the reward. You want to be rewarded for the work you put in to get exactly what you want far as the desire that you have for something. You got to make sacrifice to get it, and knowing that once you work towards that sacrificing, there's something that comes in return with that, and that's the reward.
Absolutely. And generally speaking, that's a respectable position to be in. You know, when someone has sacrificed something, you know, we typically have respect to people that have gone through some stuff in order to get to a certain end. You know, I absolutely agree with you. We usually look at that of a person, and we look at a person in that type of situation as with respect. So we do view it as noble, absolutely. So in that situation, we are pretty much saying that sacrifice is a good thing. Would y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. Always.
Even though it's very difficult, it's a good thing, right? All right, so
yes.
we're gonna take a look at something else, and this actually might be a little challenging to watch. So fair use again. Here we go.
For a few days.
A few days?
Yeah, I haven't been keeping count.
Okay.
Besides, I couldn't really hang out with friends. After school, it was okay.
Oh, why did you end up having to become homeless on your 18th birthday?
I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, okay, so what?
It was my 18th birthday, and according to law, on your 18th birthday, you are now considered an adult and you gotta get out.
Well, you don't have to get out. A lot of 18-year-olds live with their parents.
I mean, yeah, but...
So let me ask you this. Do your parents know that you're homeless?
Yeah, I mean...
They do?
I mean, yeah, they were the ones who dropped me to the homeless shelter, so...
These are your biological parents?
No.
Okay, these are your adopted parents?
Yeah.
Okay, so they adopted you and your brother?
Yeah.
What age? Do you remember what age you was adopted at?
4.
4?
Yeah.
So do you remember life before you were adopted?
Yeah, I was, let's just say, spoiled. I was really freaking spoiled.
Why would your adopted parents drop you off at the shelter miles, thousands of miles away, or hundreds or whatever?
Hey, it's a good place to get a job, bruh. Like, literally, you could get a job here.
Did you ask to come here?
I mean...
Or did they just bring you here?
Not really. They questioned me about it. They were like, where would you want to go in life? And I was like, making a fantasy estimated guess because I thought they were joking. I was like, oh, London, Atlanta, Great Britain, I don't know. Then next thing you know, I have a suitcase and we're packing in a rush to come to Atlanta. So, like,
how did that make you feel?
I was nervous and scared, but at the same time, I was really sad. Like, really, really sad. Like, on my 18th birthday, we couldn't even celebrate. Like,
have you spoken to them since?
Yeah, I always contact them. They never really contact me back. I don't know their phone number or their email. I just contact a friend who's close to my biological parents since she was with me since I was a baby. I usually contact her, but she doesn't really contact back, which is awkward. So, yeah.
All right, so listen, miss, if anybody out there wanted to reach out, help, or donate, do you have a way they could do that? Do you have social media, Cash App, anything like that?
Yeah. I don't know how to use Cash App, though.
Well, do you have one?
Yeah.
What is it? We'll talk after the video. I'll show you how to use it, but something tells me people are going to be kind of concerned about this particular interview. All right, so we got your Cash App right here. All right, sweetie. Well, listen, we really appreciate you taking the time, answering all of our questions, and we definitely wish you nothing but the best out here, okay?
Yep.
Make sure you have a good one, sweetie.
You too.
All right.
It's just shameful, man. That's just absolutely shameful. You know, that she was adopted in the first place, and then her adoptive parents just going to drop her off hundreds of miles away because that payment stopped. 18th birthday. So just cruel, very, very cruel. So, and I think she has some mental problems as well. You know, she was trying to grin through it, but you can see the pain, especially toward the end. It's hard to look at, man. Goodness. Our people, man.
She might not have been adopted. She might not have been adopted by our people, for one. But you know, I looked at it two ways. Either the adopted parents were with a wicked mindset to, like you were just saying, to get rid of her before 18th birthday, or they put her in a situation to make her stronger. You know, because most people come from poverty. You know, they strive hard, but the kid was an orphan, adopted, then made to be homeless. You know, some people fold, the strong survive, and they become better through adversities. You know, like, you know, her story is very, very powerful. It's touching. I'm sure she would probably get a lot of support. But the fact that, it's kind of painful, because you can tell, like, you know, she has some conditions that, that, like you say, they probably were just looking for the money. And then after that, they cast her to the side, and now she got to fend for herself in a place she don't know nothing about. That those things do make you stronger, man. I'm telling you, adversity make you stronger.
Hey, we were listening to a song that said that, before the Bible study, as a matter of fact. So that's true. However, that's an unfortunate situation. That specific one, very unfortunate, man. So that I count that as wickedness. But I understand where you're coming from. You're not wrong in general. So if we were to look at this type of situation, and let's say we have a family that's taking on a person in this type of situation, and an orphan, would it be, or just even, a man or a woman that is going to have a family? Would it be a sacrifice in order to have a family?
I mean, for a man or woman to be married to someone that's an orphan, and that's
no. So all right, I did make that very confusing. So I guess it's two different questions, should be the same answer. If you had to take on, if you decided to take on an orphan and that's gone through things like this, it's very conceivable to see how a person like that would be pretty damaged, after the ordeal that they've been through. So in order to deal with that type of situation, even in love, it will be very challenging, correct?
Correct.
Versus your life before that, when you didn't have to deal with that type of situation, So you're making a sacrifice in order to deal with this situation. So same thing with, let's say, a single man or a single woman, but I'll put it on a man in this situation, because for a man, if he decides to take on a wife in a family, does he have to sacrifice when he makes that decision?
Absolutely.
Right, because he's in charge of everything. He has actually more weight bearing on him in the relationship. He has to provide. He has to be the support system for everybody, make sure everything is taken care of, for everybody, for himself, for his wife or wives, for his children. And the wife, of course, has sacrifices and everything as well, because she's sacrificing her way of life. So, it's a sacrifice. We absolutely see that these things are sacrifice. So what we're going to do, and I wanted to bring up the fathers because we're going to talk about our fathers. We're going to talk about our fathers and the sacrifice that our fathers make. We're going to take a look at. We're going to take a little look at the fathers of Israel and check them out. So we're going to go to Genesis 11 and 29. Genesis 11 and 29. I'll get that on the screen in just a second. Genesis 11 and 29. Because we're going to see that our whole covenant is built upon sacrifice. The whole thing. Share the screen. Put this stuff all over the place. All right, so whoever wants to
I'll
read,
grab it.
we're going to do Genesis 11, 29 through 31.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 29. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. Sarai. How do you pronounce that? Sarai.
Yeah, Sarai. Most people just say Sarah, though. But yes,
right. Sarai. And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren; she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Aram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there.
All right, Con. So is everybody familiar with Abram?
Con.
Has his name eventually got changed to what?
Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Abraham.
Absolutely. Abraham. That's right. I believe so. Yeah. So we're gonna we wanted to establish that this is in Genesis, and this is just when they were talking about, this is pretty much when he kind of came on the scene in Genesis, because right before that they were basically talking about the genealogy. Terah is his father. Terah was actually the captain in Chaldees is another word for Babylon. That's where they were. And his father, Terah, was actually like the general or the captain of the army, Nimrod's army. So let's take a look at something real quick, because we're going to qualify something real quick. Let me see. I'll go to Joshua 10 and 13. Joshua 10 and 13.
Can I read?
Absolutely. Joshua 10 and 13. All right, you can go ahead.
And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Joshua? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day.
Hallelujah. So for one thing, we can see in the Bible that it's the sun that moves, because it says the sun stood still. So that means that's something that changed. It's not what the science people are telling us, that the earth is revolving around the sun. That's a lie. But anyway, the Bible suggests that the sun is the thing that's moving, because it stood still after a prayer. And this is written about in the book of Jasher. So they're talking about the book of Jasher right there. Let's go to 2 Samuel 1 and 18. 2 Samuel 1 and 18. There we go. And we're going to start cruising through this. 2 Samuel 1 and 18. Where'd I go? 1 and 18. 2 Samuel 1 and 18. Somebody want to grab that?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of bow. Behold, it is written in the book of, how do you pronounce the name?
Jasher.
Jasher.
Yep. So he bade them and told them to teach the children of Judah how to use the bow, like bow and arrow. And this is in the book of Jasher, or of course it would be Yashar. If we were speaking in more Hebrew because there's no J there, but that was a good question. So the book of Jasher again is mentioned in the regular context of the Bible. So we saw a little bit about where Abram's beginning was in the book of Genesis, but there's a book called Jasher, the book of Jasher. There's also the book of Jubilees, the book of Enoch. Not everybody supports the book of Enoch, but there are extra biblical books, meaning books that are outside of the canonical, what's considered the canon Bible, that give us lots of information. The book of Jasher is one of them, and again, it's certainly one that was accepted by our forefathers because it's referred to here. So we're going to go to the book of Jasher for a bit more details because it fills in a lot of the blanks here. So we're going to go to the book of Jasher. I just pulled this up. Book of Jasher. I might have to blow this up a little bit. But book of Jasher, we're going to go to chapter 8. Let me see here. Just to look better. Is this that might be too big for my screen. Get this down. Can y'all see this? Is this big enough?
Yeah.
Legible. All right, we're gonna go to the book of Jasher, and we're gonna do a lot of reading. So whoever, we're gonna get it going here. We're gonna do Jasher chapter 8, verses 1 and 2, and then we're gonna skip to 4.
I got it.
All right.
And it was in the night that Abram was born that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night. And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes toward heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens.
All right. We're going to go to 4.
And they said to each other, this only betokens the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands.
So have we heard some kind of story like that where some wise men looked up in the sky and had a prophecy based on what they saw in the sky?
God, we'll do a Yahushua.
Hallelujah. Well, we see that it was with this child as well. And we see that it's the child of Terah. So we already saw whose father Terah is. Let's go to 35 and 36.
And Terah took Abraham, his son, secretly together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And the Lord was with Abraham in the cave, and he grew up. And Abraham was in the cave 10 years. And the king and his princes, soothsayers and sages, thought that the king had
killed Abram.
Oh, killed Abram.
Yeah, sorry, that was a little disjointed. So there was a prophecy, and so the king in this situation is Nimrod, because again, this is Babylon. So the king wanted to, just like they wanted to kill Yahushua. So this is another situation where you can see the Bible repeats itself over and over and over again. And this is also how Yahushua says throughout the book, it is written of me, because it tells his story over and over and over and over again. So we see that even though Yahushua on earth comes later on, this is similar to that situation there. Nimrod wanted to kill him. So Terah actually did some trickery without going into it. He took one of his servants, his female servant's babies, and gave it to Nimrod. and Nimrod thought he was giving him Abram, the prophesied child, and Nimrod dashed that baby's head against a stone and killed him. You know, cruel Nimrod, boy. So what Terah did was he actually hid his family. He hid Abram in a cave for 10 years. He hid him, and he brought him provisions every month. But he hid him in a cave all of that time. Let's go to Jasher 9, 4 through 6. Jasher chapter 9, 4 through 6.
Haran. Okay.
Haran was Terah's was Terah's brother, actually, and Lot's father. But go ahead.
Haran was 42 years old when he begat Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And those days Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. And when Abraham came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instructions of the Lord and his ways. And no man knew where Abraham was, and Abraham served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time.
So hold up. Abraham went to be raised by who?
Noah and Shem.
Noah and Shem. So sometimes we think about, some of these ancestors and just think that we don't hear about them anymore after a certain point in Genesis, let's say. But we have to understand that they lived for hundreds of years back then. So many of them crossed paths. So Abraham, born centuries after them, actually went back to live and to learn from Noah and Shem. That was crazy the first time I saw that. I was like, what? Pretty exciting, actually. All right, let's go to 6.
And Abraham was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abraham knew the Lord from 3 years old. And he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Lord, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Lord who had created them in the earth. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak nor deliver. And the sons of the men served them, and they became their gods.
God. So we're seeing how things just kind of course, they continue to go off the rails. And at this point, people were no longer listening, because at a certain point, Shem was teaching a lot of people. And so obviously over time, folks lost it and they went astray, including some of Shem's sons, because we'll read about the king of Elam. Elam, I believe, was the son of Shem. So even children of Shem, went astray. So anyway, we're seeing some of Abram's beginning. And remember, this is Abram. He hasn't become Abraham yet. Abram. And we also see that Sarah was 10 years younger than him, and technically his cousin, because he was Haran was his uncle. That's his father's brother, and Sarai was his Haran's daughter. Haran at this point had died. So this is why Terah, took them, and they all eventually escaped and left Chaldees or Babylon. So anyway, stop filling in these holes so we can get moving here. We're going to go to Genesis 13. Genesis 13. And we're just trying to patch some of these things together so we can get a better picture. Genesis 13, we're going to go to 12, and then we're going to skip to 14 through 16.
Slack, just referencing the bit of Jasher we just read, if anybody wants to read Barak chapter 6, it also references fake gods and them being made and all of that stuff. So it's a very common thing throughout the Bible, people making fake gods with their own hands.
and they're still doing it today. You can go to just about any store and buy your own little fake God today, and post them on something in your house. It's crazy. So we're gonna do. I appreciate that, brother. Genesis 13, verse 12. Then we're gonna go 14 through 16.
Okay. And Abraham dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom. And the Lord said unto Abraham, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered.
So at this point, of course, some time has gone by. They've left Chaldees and they've gone into the land of Canaan. And at this point, I believe Terah's dead at this point. He's passed on. And Abram is pretty much in charge of everything, and he's taken on his nephew Lot, which is his brother's son. I forgot his brother's name, but it's his brother's son. So at any rate, that's where we find ourselves now. We find that Lot has pitched his tent. They've had to separate because they were arguing, but more so Lot was arguing because of the land that Abram appropriated to him. He didn't feel like it was large enough, and their employees were basically getting in arguments with each other, so they had to separate, which is really what Yahweh wanted anyway, separation. Understand that? Holy Kodesh. So once Lot was separated, then he said, lift up your eyes. After the separation from the unclean. We understand that? So we not only have to look at the story, but we have to understand what this thing represents as well. All right, we're going to go to Genesis 14 now. Genesis 14, 12 through 14. Like I said, we're going to be pushing these scripts tonight. Genesis 14, 12 through 14.
I'll grab it. This book of Genesis, you said this is chapter, what's it, 14?
Yeah, 14, 12 through 14.
Genesis chapter 14, verse 12. And they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan.
So basically, some wars waged out with some other kingdoms. They conquered Sodom, and they took Lot captive and took all of his stuff with them. So somebody escaped from that and came and told Abram, and Abram had some warrior servants, basically. So, because again, our forefathers were not punks. Don't believe these images of people floating around, on clouds and all this other stuff that they try to put us on. Us. Our forefathers and our foremothers were brave and intelligent people as well. So he had 318 trained servants that he was like, we're going to go and deal with this issue. And we also see that he called Lot his brother. And again, technically, brothers and sisters, but also Lot is of the lineage of his brother. So that's why he also referred to Lot as his brother. All right, we're going to skip down to 16. Skip down to 16.
Verse 16. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people.
So Abraham and his group went and kicked some tail, and they came back and brought and got everything, and got all the goods back and everything else. Right. All right. Let's do 18 through 20.
Verse 18. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abraham of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which had delivered thy enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all.
So we see that Abraham went to war and he came back with the spoils of war, and not only did he have the spoils of war, he gave a tithe of those spoils to Melchizedek, the king of Salem. Has anyone heard of Melchizedek before?
Khan.
So we also see here. Let me see here if it says in this. So Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he brought forth bread and wine. So they're having a little bit of a feast. Is that correct? After the war, a little bit of a feast and a celebration. Does that make sense?
Khan always.
We see that. So Melchizedek was eating with him, right?
Yep.
Eating and drinking with him. And he certainly gave him some goods. So, he gave him some goods. So anyway, let's take a look at let's go back to Jasher now. We're gonna go to Jasher 16. Jasher 16, 6 through 8. Get this on the screen. The book of Jasher 16. Book of Jasher chapter 16, 6 through 8. And we're going to see some of the same account. All right, let's go.
And they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom, and they went away. And eunuch, Abram's servant, who was in the battle, saw this, and told Abram all that the kings had done to the cities of Sodom, and that Lot was taken captive by them. And Abram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men that were with him. And he that night pursued these kings and smote them, and they all fell before Abram and his men. And there was none remaining but the 4 kings who fled, and they went each his own road.
So we see again the account of this war around Sodom, and how these kings took the things, took Lot, kidnapped Lot, took all of his stuff, other people's stuff as well. And we see that again, Abram came with his 318 men. So we're seeing the same thing, right? Are we sure that this is the same account? Does it sound like the same?
Also, King, the book of Jasher references that there were 4 kings.
Mm-hmm.
So four different kingdoms that came together. Israel, our lineage, our people always went through this. This is the beginning as Abram is growing into who he is to become Abraham.
Right.
Because the Most High trusted Abram for all that he'd done. Mm-hmm. He was faithful unto the Most High. Now we got to understand that Abram always believed in the Most High for everything. He didn't veer off believing in other gods as his ancestors did. They were our ancestors, but the Most High brought Abram out from among them to start a new thing with him. I just want to bring to note that these 4 kings that Abram went to go get Lot and the family of Abram back, that they warred against these 4 kings, these 4 kingdoms, which was way more soldiers than the soldiers that Abraham took. They were servants, but they was trained soldiers ready to go. So I know that I believe just from the spirit that's on me, that the Most High empowered those men, empowered Abraham to go in and thrash tens and thousands however many men that was in the war, because we always did this.
God.
All of the kingdoms, all of the great men of the Most High, we were conquerors because we was under the banner of Yahweh.
So you're 100% right. So I can't remember what account it's in. I'm not sure if this is in Jubilees or not. And I'm not sure if it's this war. I believe it was, but it was his 318 against about 10,000. So they whipped about 10,000 people. So absolutely, we know that Yah was behind empowering them. Because again, our people are more powerful. Look, they fear us for a reason, and it's because of the Father that we have and the King that we have. So 100% correct. So we do see that this is the same war. So we're reading about the same account. All right, let's go to verse 8.
And Abram recovered all the property of Sodom, and he also recovered Lot and his property, his wives and little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lot lacked nothing.
Now we're making sure that we're seeing the same thing. Now let's do 11 and 12.
And Adonizedek, how do you say that name?
Adonizedek.
And Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, the same with Shem, went out with his men to meet Abram and his people with bread and wine, and they remained together in the valley of Melech. And Adonizedek blessed Abram, and Abram gave him a tenth from all that he had brought from the spoil of his enemies, for Adonizedek was a priest before Yahweh.
So is this standing out to anybody right now?
Yeah, same thing as Leviticus with the priests. You give 10% of what the Israel had to the Levites.
Well, that's true. So we have a little precedent, right? Because tithe means 10. But also look at this. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. Right? What does it say before? I don't know what does this say? Melchizedek, king of Salem. They both brought forth bread and wine. Is that what we're saying? Came forth with bread and wine. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. And who was Adonizedek? Who was Adonizedek?
Shem?
The same was Shem. So who was Abram raised by?
Shem and Noah.
Absolutely, Noah and Shem. So we see that Melchizedek was the king of Salem. All right. Let's see. I looked it up. Let me see here. Salem. All right, because we see Salem right here. Melchizedek, the king of Salem. But look this up in a blue letter. I might have to blow this up some. So Salem right here. We see Salem, right? Clicking on the Strong's Concordance here. Might have to blow this up a little bit. But Salem, peace. Salem, peace. The place of which Melchizedek was king. Salem, peace. Similar to Shalom, right? Is this starting to sound familiar? Am I talking to myself up this joint, man? Hey, what's going on? I can do that when I'm by myself, which I do quite often, as a matter of fact. So we see again, Melchizedek was king of Salem, right? King of peace, right? And it says that he was let me see here, a priest of the Most High God. Now let's look at Adonizedek. This is actually a different Adonizedek later on, but we can still glean from it because he was also king of Jerusalem, but it's not the same one. All right. So what we want to see is Jerusalem. But look at the Strong's Concordance for Jerusalem and see what it says. Of course, Yerushalayim would be the way that you.
Strong's H3389. Yerushalayim.
So again, we know that
Yerushalayim,
no J back then.
second entry.
All right.
Yerushalayim,
What's this dude doing?
Yerushalayim.
All right, dude, that's enough. All right. So again, Jerusalem teaching of peace. So we see that this is still saying the same thing, peace. All right. So we have Melchizedek, king of Salem, which is peace, and then we have Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, again reference to peace, and we see that the same was Shem. So who was Melchizedek? Who was Melchizedek?
My brain's combusted.
You lost. All right. So we have Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. He was the same with Shem, right?
Okay.
That's what it says, right? The same with Shem. Adonizedek is Shem, the same person. This is just a different name because people went by different names many times. Many times people have multiple names. So another name for Shem was Adonizedek. He was a priest of the Most High, because that's what it says here. Let me see. He was a priest, and for Adonizedek was a priest before God, right? So we see the same thing being said about Melchizedek, king of Salem, Jerusalem. Are we seeing some resemblance here?
Jerusalem.
God.
Everyone.
He brought forth bread and wine. Adonizedek brought forth bread and wine. Are we seeing that this is the same person?
For the most part, yes.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to sound like I was wrong.
People are scared to say it.
Yeah. I didn't want to sound wrong.
Melchizedek and Adonizedek, they were the same.
And who are they?
Shem.
They the priest of the Most High God. They priest of peace of the Most High God.
Absolutely. And what do most people? What's the name that most people know him by? Well, they don't know him by Shem. Melchizedek is Shem.
So I'm about to ask something that's deeper than ocean depths, King. Here we have here we have today, in this time, this station time right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people, a lot of nations of people want to attach themselves to the priest of the Most High God that comes in peace, living in the land that Jerusalem is, quote unquote, now is Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be representing this great king that is of peace. But it's a disconnection there because the people that's truly of Shem are not in power. And there's no sacrifices right now for today, King. The Most High is, pissed that we are off script from all that he been doing from us through our lineage. If we do our homework, we can take it as far back as when Abraham was, before Abraham was Abraham, he was Abram. Mm-hmm. What the Most High was doing with him, doing with the family of Noah through Shem. And God was honored them. He was the Yahweh, the creator of the world, is referencing Shem, Melchizedek, as the high priest of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the peace at with Israel now?
There isn't any right now. Certainly, well, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
It's
go quickly though.
You're absolutely correct, King. I was watching a segment. We want peace. We want to be treated fair. We want all of these things, but we've lost our way. There's no more sacrifices. We're not sacrificing unto our Father.
We're gonna come back to that. We're gonna come. I want you to hold that. We're gonna come. We're gonna come back to that. You know what I'm saying? This dude likes to be like the Most High, knowing the end from the beginning.
It's a blower, man, because when you're a person that's seeking knowledge, and I've learned a lot just through this short segment of time that we've been on. But it everything is connecting, King. It's making sense. Like, if we're not gonna do this, if we're not gonna make the sacrifice, we're not gonna know this. No one is gonna know this because they're not seeking it out.
We're gonna come back, though. We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back because remember, sacrifice. I mean, you're right. You're on point because sacrifice is the foundation of this. We're gonna bring it back in the end if we get that far. We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna go back to Jasher 21 because again, we're just kind of weaving through this story that most of us don't know. But absolutely, it's difficult for us to say because right now people kind of mythicize Melchizedek because of something that Paul said. You know, he has no beginning, no end, and stuff like that. So people, is he a spirit? Like people don't really understand. They don't really know. But it's revealed in what you call it. It's just under a different name. Here a little, there a little. Melchizedek is Shem. Okay. All right. And he was in so Abram knew him. That was raising. That's like his dad almost. You know what I'm saying? All right. So let's go to Jasher 21:3, and then we're going to skip to 5. All right. And we're just skipping around trying to piece some things together. All right, 3. Whoever wants to get it.
I'll grab it. What chapter is this, King?
21.
Jasher chapter 21, verse 3. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at 8 days old. And Yahweh had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him. And Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90 years old when Isaac was born to them.
All right, let's go to 5.
And Shem and Eber and all the great people of the land, and Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and his servants, and Phicol, the captain of his host, came to eat and drink and rejoice at the feast with Abraham made upon the day of his son Isaac being weaned.
So we see Shem was there. It just didn't say Adonizedek, and it didn't say Melchizedek. It just said Shem this time. Same person. But again, they're family. And Eber, look at Eber. Eber is one of Shem's kids. And we know Eber is where Hebrew comes from. We read earlier the first time the Hebrew is mentioned in the Bible, Abram the Hebrew. Eber is where Hebrew comes from, crossing over. All right. So we see this is not a birthday. They're having a feast or a celebration for Isaac being weaned off the teat. This is a celebration that all of the great people of the land are coming there. So this is a great thing. So hey, Terah actually is still there because we see Terah right there. So his father hasn't passed. I was incorrect about that a little earlier. But anyway, we're going to go down to 11 right now. We're going to go 11 through 15. 11 through 15.
Verse 11. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bare Isaac to Abraham. And Yahweh was with Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and he grew up and he learned to use the bow and became an archer. Mm-hmm. And when Isaac was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the door of the tent. And Ishmael came to Isaac and seated himself opposite to him. And he took the bow and drew it and put the arrow in it and intended to slay Isaac.
Whoa. So we got another big brother trying to kill the little brother? Have we seen that theme before?
Esau.
Yeah.
And that's why they get along. They got along, Ishmael and Esau, so well. They're wicked.
Yep. And there's another big brother that wanted to take out the little brother. Who was that? The original.
Cain took out Abel. That's how it came about.
God.
Then you had Esau wanted to do harm to Jacob.
So we see how throughout the scripture is written on me, and I keep on messing up that scripture there. But we see this. Are we seeing how these things are playing out again? So let's do 15
and the big brothers of Joseph.
Man, you be stop reading my script, man. You know what I'm saying?
We all got together and go ahead and do one at that symbol. Get up out of there.
I try my best not
had that all covered. So
we gonna I'm gonna make a mention about that very soon, but you're on point with that. Definitely on point with that. Good job, dog. Let's do 15.
Jasher 21 and 15. And Sarah saw the act which Ishmael desired to do to her son Isaac, and it grieved her exceedingly on account of her son. And she sent for Abraham and said to him, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son, for thus did he seek to do unto him this day.
So we see why she was so persistent about getting Hagar and Ishmael up out of there. You know, it wasn't just simple teasing. You know, Ishmael had it out for him, and just like Q said, we're seeing situations here where the Most High is going to have it where the younger brother is the one that's actually chosen. The younger one is chosen, and so like you said, Q. Yaakov, Jacob did the same thing when it came to giving a blessing to Joseph's sons, because Ephraim was not the older son. What was the other brother's name? Ephraim and I can't think of the other brother's name. I'm sure y'all know. I just can't think of it at the moment. But the other brother was older.
Was it Manasseh?
Manasseh, yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. So Manasseh was actually the older brother. And when it came time to do the blessing, he was supposed to get the older brother's blessing. But Jacob was like, nah, bring Ephraim over here. And Joseph was actually mad about that. He's like, hold up, man, it's not right. He's like, nah. He's like, nah, this is the older one. And Jacob was like, nah, I know what I'm doing. Bring Ephraim over here. So even right now, the 10 tribes are known as Ephraim. Mm-hmm. So do we see these? So again, we see these different trends, this different story being played out. So we see these patterns being played out. So that was a good joint to catch, Q. Let's go to Joshua.
And that's why you hear today people always say history always repeats itself. This is history repeating itself.
Well, we got to know our history to understand, and that's why we try to speak to our people and wake us up, because it's not knowing our history, which is why we don't know what our destiny is going to be. Let's go to so that's absolutely a good catch. Let's go to Joshua 22, 40 through 47. I might be doing a little too much talking. We got to get through this. Joshua 22, 40 through 47.
I'll grab it. No way I grab it. Joshua chapter 22, verse 40. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was growing up in those days, and Abraham, his father, taught him the way of the Lord to know the Lord, and the Lord was with him. And when Isaac was 37 years old, Ishmael, his brother, was going about with him in the tent. And Ishmael boasted to himself to Isaac, saying, I was 13 years old when the Lord spoke to my father to circumcise us. And I did according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke to my father. And I gave my soul unto the Lord, and I did not transgress his word, which he commanded my father. Mm-hmm. And Isaac answered Ishmael, saying, Why doest thou boast to me about this, about a little bit of thy flesh, which thou didst take from thy body, concerning which the Lord commanded thee? As the Lord liveth, the God of my father Abraham, if the Lord should say,
check out what he's check. You first of all, we hear the animosity from Ishmael to Isaac, always trying to best him. We hear that, right? Mm-hmm. So let's see how Isaac fights back a little bit.
Verse 44, as the Lord liveth, the God of my father Abraham, if the Lord should say unto my father, take now thy son Isaac and bring him up an offering before me, I would not refrain, but I would joyfully accede to it. And the Lord heard the word that Isaac spoke to Ishmael, and it seemed good in the sight of the Lord, and he thought to try Abraham in this matter. And that day arrived when the sons of God came and placed themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with the sons of God before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down it.
So where have we heard this kind of phrase before?
In the book of Job.
So we see these similar things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize it, but Job was actually an Israelite as well. I forgot who his father was. I mentioned it on
can I add something to that?
Issachar. I think he's the son of Issachar. Huh?
Salaki, can I add something to that exact thing, which we got to understand that words have power for one. And when we make a boast, knowing it's like an inwardly thing. Isaac knew inwardly, spiritually connected to the Most High. Like he would give his life. He would have his life on the line. That's how much he trusts the Lord. That's how much Isaac trusted the Lord. As a young child, trusted the Lord that if it was required of my life, the Most High can have it. People today, they think of this life as to boast about it, like wanting to have the riches of this world. But when you connected with the Most High, we know this world is nothing compared to what the Most High has for us in His kingdom.
It's about the Most High. It's not about us. It's about the Most High.
Mm-hmm. So when I always say this, always, it's not a braggadocious type thing, but I know I'm comfortable in my spirit physically to be like, I claim to be a warrior. I claim to be a soldier in this war because I understand what's going on. I claim to be front line. I want front line. So here comes Satan to Yahweh, like, yeah.
I got more for you, dog. I got more for you. Every time, man, I'm telling you, dog. I got more for you. I got more for you.
Because we gotta really truly understand and know what we're saying out our mouths. Because Satan is always coming and going to the Most High know who we are. We're gonna be tried always.
Watch as we go on, because it's gonna speak. That's why I wanted to stop, because we're gonna speak to what you was talking about.
Okay.
So first of all, to go along with what you're saying, well, actually, let's get 54 and 55, 54 and 55 real quick. 54 and 55.
Joshua chapter 22, verse 54. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou thus considered my servant Abraham? For there is none like him upon earth, a perfect and upright man before me, one that feareth Yahweh and avoideth evil. As I live, where I to say unto him, Bring up Isaac thy son before me, he would not withhold him from me. Much more if I told him to bring up a burnt offering before me from his flock or herds. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Speak then now unto Abraham as thou hast said, and thou wilt see whether he will not this day transgress and cast aside thy words.
Isn't that Job all over again?
Yes,
Job all over again. So y'all are making. I want y'all to see some other observations, right? So let's see up here. How was so he hasn't been sacrificed. He hasn't been the sacrifice stuff hasn't happened yet, right? All of that challenge. How old is Yitzhak at this point? Isaac. How old is Isaac at this point?
Isaac is a young boy. He's a young boy at the time. He's like, what, 5?
37.
What does this say?
37.
37 years old. What does TV say? 5. They always portraying him to be a little boy. So
Isaac was hold up. Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac at the age of 37.
Yep. 37 years old. He's grown up now. It even said it. He's grown up now. 37.
So
and Ishmael is 14 years, and Ishmael is 14 years older than him.
Calm. I'm thinking he's still little kids at the time. So
that's our programming. That's our programming.
Calm. So Isaac, when he was speaking to Ishmael, was he speaking as an adult? They were speaking as adults versus as little children.
Grown men, dog.
Con. So
grown men.
So it's been a thing going back and forth with them for a while, ever since children. So when Hagar was put away from, and when Hagar and Ishmael was to be put away from Abraham and Isaac, were they adults then? Was Ishmael adult or a young lad?
I think they were younger than this. I'd have to go back up to see it because we did look at it a little bit, but they were young. They were younger than this. Because it said he was. That happened when Isaac was 5 years old. So Ishmael was 19.
Because remember, Ishmael drew the bow
at 19.
Drew the bow on Isaac. So this is why Sarah was like, man, you gotta get him away. That's one thing. Was he older? Was he younger?
Well, no. So you're right in that situation, but that was years ago. So what I'm saying is that TV in our program, just like it's programmed a lot of images in them, and every time you see this represented, we see a little kid getting wrapped up and put on an altar. But this is why we got to investigate the truth and search it out, and we see that many years have passed. And they're, like you said, they're still look. Their flex is showing how dedicated they are to Yahweh. Ishmael is like, hey, I'll do this. He did this for me. I gleefully got circumcised. And Isaac is like, man, what you bragging about that for? Look, man, if he asked me to sacrifice myself, I'd do it.
Calm.
And this is the other thing that we got to.
And also, I'm gonna cut you off, King Salaki. Also, we got to look at that these men live hundreds of years old. So a lot of time was going. There was a lot of time in between that. So we got to read in between the lines to really dig it out, and really see what was going on at this particular time period, at that particular time period. Because because the way the script is read, these other books that connect this truth, Abram has had a lot of experience with the Most High. He was doing his walk with the Most High. I understand now more why the Most High called Abram out from among his families. Like, I must do a whole new thing with you.
But see, you got to understand that. Remember, he didn't have Isaac until he was 100 and about 100 years old. It's been a long time. He stayed with Shem and Noah until his late 30s. You know what I'm saying? Or was it 40? I can't remember. Now it must have been I can't remember. I think it was his late 30s. We read it earlier.
Yeah, late 30s. It was late 30s.
But let us keep moving. But this is the reason why we gotta search here a little, there a little. We gotta search these books because these things give us a bit more details to fill in the stuff. Because remember, in Genesis, it didn't introduce us to Abram until he was leaving Babylon. Until he was leaving.
He had a whole lot of years. He was older than he was older, much older. Coming out from among his family. Him and Sarai, they was married.
So that's why we wanted to do this lesson and kind of go into uncovering some of these things and what our forefathers went through. So that's why we clarify these things. So I'm glad y'all are getting these eureka moments, which is a really, really good thing. And we're also seeing how these things link up to other stories in the script, and we're seeing how these things are mentioned over and over and over again. The other thing that we see is that Ishmael said, "Look, if the Most High asked me to do such and such," and the Most High was like, "Huh?" He heard it,
right?
So we got to understand.
He gonna look, man. It's so deep, man. Like Satan, right there all the time. You know what I'm saying?
But it didn't say that though. Now Satan came by later, but the first thing it said was that the Most High heard it. So understand that, just like how Satan is going to and fro. There are the the angels that are still on the Most High, serving the Most High in a positive capacity that are reporting back and forth as well. Understand that. We also have to understand that that's related to us. How many times have we said, hey, Father, please forgive me, I'll never do this again, or whatever the case is, and then you get tested with it.
We fail a lot of tests, King. So sometimes we fail the same test over and over and over until we get it right. We can't move on to the next level of our life until we get that test right.
So you see Isaac. So you see what just happened to Isaac. He said something. He said, "I would do blah blah blah. If the Most High asked me, I'd do blah blah blah." That's similar to a vow. So the Most High said, "Hey, this is good. Let me test it." And not only did he say, "Let me test it," he tested Abraham too, because he tested that Abraham was going to be willing to sacrifice it, and he tested whether Isaac was going to be a willing sacrifice.
And Isaac meant a lot to. He loved Ishmael, but Isaac meant a lot to him because the promise was made with Abraham, with Abraham and Sarai to be given a son at an old age. That's why, that's how Ishmael came about, because they was tried. They was tried. You know what I'm saying? They didn't wait. They didn't hold fast because Sarah was like, she believed, but then
she was
coming to reality like, damn, I'm old. How my husband gonna give me pleasure once again? He ain't rocking like he used to rock.
right. Hey, let me keep it moving though, because we losing time.
Good.
All right, so again, that's just a note to us to understand that the things that he hears the things that we're saying, the little vows and promises that we make, and we're tested by these different things. So understand, when we do these things, we're tested, and we're seeing what we know from the history what happened with Isaac. He was tested, and we just saw how Hasatan came, challenged the Most High, blah, blah, blah. But it was all, I understand that the Most High is orchestrating all of these different things. And it's really Yahweh in heavenly form. But it gets pretty interesting here. Hopefully we can get through this. It might be a little extended because it's already late. Anyway, we're going to go to Joshua 23. We're going to go to Joshua 23, 1 and 2. We're going to have to speedball a little bit. Joshua 23, 1 and 2. And then we're going to skip to 5. Go ahead, whoever wants to do it. Come on, somebody.
I'll grab it. Joshua chapter 23, verse 1. At that time, the word of the Lord came to Abraham, and he said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And he said to him, Take now thy son, thy only son, whom thou lovest, even Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah. Mm-hmm. And offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which shall be sown to thee. For there wilt thou see a cloud and the glory of the Lord.
5.
Verse 5. My son Isaac is grown up, and he has not for some time studied the service of his God.
All right, so real quick. I'm sorry, bro. Real quick, just to understand this. So right now, what we skipped was he was like, okay, well, how am I going to? Abraham was asking the Most High, okay, how am I going to separate him from his mother? His mother's going to be pressing me about where I'm taking Isaac. So he said, tell Isaac this, tell Sarah this thing. So this is actually Abraham talking to Isaac. I'm talking to Sarah. My son Isaac is growing up. So this is what's going on now. Go ahead, bro. This is Abraham getting out the house. This is Abraham trying to hit the club late at night. And now let me stop. This is the alibi right here. Go ahead, dog.
Verse 5. My son Isaac is grown up, and he has not for some time studied the service of his God. Now tomorrow I will go up and bring him to Shem and Eber his son, and there he will learn the ways of the Lord. For they will teach him to know the Lord, as well as to know that when he prays continually before the Lord, he will answer him. Therefore, there he will know the way of serving the Lord his God.
So again, we see Shem and Eber being mentioned. Noah, I'm assuming at this point, is passed on because he wasn't included with the last gathering, but 2 of his descendants are Shem and Eber. And the point is that they're there to teach to continue to teach the Most High's way. Remember Shem, Melchizedek, high priest of the Most High, Prince of King of Peace, King of Salem, King of Jerusalem. Okay, all right, we're going to skip down to 20, but they're the ones that are teaching the way, the Most High's way, going back to the fathers. All right, let's go back to 20, and we're going to go 20 through 25.
Jasher chapter 23, verse 20. And Abraham went with Isaac his son to bring him up as an offering before the Lord, as he had commanded him. And Abraham took 2 of his young men with him, Ishmael the son of Hagar, and Eleazar his servant. And they went together with them. And whilst they were walking in the road, the young men spoke these words to themselves. And Ishmael said to Eleazar, now my father Abraham is going with Isaac to bring him up for a burnt offering to the Lord, as he commanded him. Now when he returneth, he will give unto me all that he possesses to inherit after him, for I am his firstborn.
See, so we still see Ishmael is absolutely thinking about himself. Thinking
right.
About, I'm trying to get that inheritance. Let me I can't wait till Isaac is knocked off. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Wicked, man.
Wicked. Still one that, and I won't go into this. The same thing with Cain, with Esau and Jacob, trying to get rid of that supplanter. We'll just say as he was called. Let's go to 25.
Verse 25. And whilst Abraham was proceeding with his son Isaac along the road, Satan came and appeared to Abraham in the figure of a very aged man, humble and of contrite spirit. And he approached.
No, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
And he approached Abraham and said to him, art thou silly or brutish that thou goest to do this thing this day to thy only son?
So this is what I was talking about, Q, when you started to bringing up how Hasatan is going to try to get in the way of, when you're called to do a certain thing. So we see again, it happens all the time. It happens with different prophets. It happened with Yahweh Shai himself. We've seen it again, even before all of that stuff. It happened with Abraham. So he's being challenged and tricked. It happened with, of course, Adam and Eve, Adam and Hua. So we're seeing the same thing is happening. We see the same story played out over and over again. Okay, so let's go to I think we just did. We just finished 25. Let's go to 27 through 34. 27 through 34. But we see he's changed his appearance. So we see that this is a trick he uses often. He changes his appearance up. All right, 27 through 34.
God, verse 27. Does thou not know and understand that this thing cannot be from the Lord? For the Lord cannot do unto man such evil upon earth to say to him, go slaughter thy child. And Abraham heard this and knew that it was the word of Satan, who endeavored to draw himself aside from the way of the Lord, but Abraham would not hearken to the voice of Satan. And Abraham rebuked him so that he went away.
So this should have been Adam. Y'all see that? This is remember Adam failed. This is the process of the second Adam coming into play. This is what the first Adam should have done. We see this? He recognized Hasatan for what he was, and he rebuked him immediately. Wasted no time. All right, go ahead, brother. 29.
God, verse 29. And Satan returned and came to Isaac, and he appeared unto Isaac in the figure of a young man, calmly and well favored.
So he fled Abraham after getting rebuked, and he went to Isaac. Isaac is one of our fathers too. Isaac ain't no slouch, just like Q was talking about. He was very committed. So he again changed his appearance again. All right, go to 30.
Verse 30. Mm-hmm. And he approached Isaac and said unto him, doest thou not know and understand that Thy old silly father bringeth thee to the slaughter this day for naught. Now therefore, my son, do not listen nor attend to him, for he is a silly old man, and let not thy precious soul and beautiful figure be lost from the earth. And Isaac heard this and said unto Abraham, Hast thou heard, my father, that which this man has spoken, even thus has he spoken? Mm-hmm. And Abraham answered his son Isaac and said unto him, Take heed of him and do not listen to his words, nor attend to him, for he is Satan, endeavoring to draw us aside this day from the commands of God.
So look at the office of the father as protector, as the one that's overseeing. Look at the obedience of the son to not listen to those outside interference, but to seek the father for instruction and listen to it. Okay, we got to see that bigger picture. All right, 34.
Verse 34. And Abraham still rebuked Satan, and Satan went from them, and seeing he could not prevail over them, he hid himself from them, and he went and passed before them in the road. And he transformed himself to a large brook of water in the road. And Abraham and Isaac and his two young men reached that place, and they saw a brook large and powerful as the mighty waters.
So not only is he making himself into human figures, he's making himself appear as a brook of water at this point, man. So he does not want this thing to come to pass. Let's go to 37.
Verse 37. And Abraham said to his son Isaac, I know this place in which there was no brook nor water. Now therefore it is this Satan who does all this to us, to draw us aside this day from the commands of Yahweh.
So we see Abraham's discernment is on another level. He is dialed in. Let's go all the way down to 41.
Verse 38. And Abraham rebuked him and said unto him, The Lord rebuke you, O Satan, be gone from us, for we go by the commands of God. And Satan was terrified at the voice of Abraham.
Satan was what?
And Satan was terrified at the voice of
Understand the power that we have. Understand the power that we have. Hasatan was terrified at the voice of Abraham. You see this? Let's read 39.
That's why I'm saying that words have power. Like if you take that bold, see, they was bold enough to speak to those things which were not, because they had the relationship with Yahweh. They knew who their father was, and they stood on that.
And they also do the order, meaning that we have higher rank than them. That's why even right now we can speak to spirits and make them flee. Right now you can command spirits.
Absolutely.
Right now,
knowing who you are, and we try it all the time anyway.
God,
just look at where we are right now.
But it's the discern. I gotta just because in the interest of time I gotta cut it. So we can keep on going. But it's the discernment, so that you know that that's a spirit, so you can speak to that spirit. So we see that Abraham's discernment was off the hook, and we even see that Isaac was, even though he was young, 37, he was on the come up, and so he still sensed like something is not right, and he went to his father. And sometimes we have spiritual fathers. This is his actual father. Discernment on another level. And not only discernment, like you said, that relationship and that command, knowing what the deal is. All right. And being committed, devoted all the way in. All right, brother, let's go to 39 again.
Verse 39. And Satan was terrified at the voice of Abraham, and he went away from them, and the place again became dry land as it was at first. And Abraham went with Isaac toward the place that God had told him. And on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place at a distance which God had told him of.
You can read this little bit real quick. I didn't include, but go ahead and read 42.
42. And a pillar of fire appeared to him that reached from the earth to heaven, and a cloud of glory upon the mountain. And the glory of the Lord was seen in the cloud.
Have we seen a pillar of fire in a cloud and also a cloud before somewhere in the scriptures?
God.
In the tabernacle where the Most High was.
In the tabernacle and also in the wilderness, leading the children of Israel out of Egypt.
Come.
So we see the same things over and over again. Let's do 45 and 46.
Verse 45. And Abraham knew that his son Isaac was accepted before the Lord for a burnt offering. And Abraham said unto Eliezer and unto Ishmael his son, do you also see that which we see upon the mountain, which is at a distance?
In short story, they did not. All right. They did not see it. Only Isaac saw it. Let's go to 49 through I think it's 49. Let me see, 49 through 65, dog. 49 through 65. I told you it was deep with the scripts. 49 through 65.
Verse 49. And Abraham took wood for a burnt offering and placed it upon his son Isaac. And he took the fire and the knife, and they both went to that place. And when they were going along, Isaac said to his father, behold, I see here the fire and wood, and where then is the lamb that is to be the burnt offering before the Lord? And Abraham answered his son Isaac, saying, the Lord has made choice of thee, my son, to be a perfect burnt offering instead of the lamb. And Isaac said unto his father, I will do all that the Lord spoke to thee with joy and cheerfulness of heart.
Isaac was not shook. Isaac was not shook. He's one of our fathers indeed. We don't talk a whole lot about Isaac, but he was a real one too. Oh. All right. Go ahead, 53.
Verse 53. And Abraham again said unto Isaac his son, is there in thy heart any thought or counsel concerning this, which is not proper? Tell me, my son, I pray thee, O my son, conceal it not from me. And Isaac answered his father Abraham and said unto him, O my father, as the Lord liveth and as thy soul liveth, there is nothing in my heart to cause me to deviate either to the right or to the left from the word that he has spoken to thee. Neither limb nor muscle has moved or stirred at this, nor is there in my heart any thought or evil counsel concerning this.
Yeah.
But I am...
Isaac is like this. Look at my hand. Is my hand shaking? Isaac is dialed in, man. He dialed in. He don't play around.
God. 56. But I am of joyful and cheerful heart in this matter. And I say, blessed is the Lord who has this day chosen me to be a burnt offering before him. And Abraham greatly rejoiced at the words of Isaac, and they went on and came together to that place that the Lord had spoken of. And Abraham approached to build the altar in that place. And Abraham was weeping and took Isaac, and Isaac took stones and mortar until they had finished building the altar.
And hold real quick. I just want to highlight this. First of all, what we see right here is the Garden of Gethsemane. When Yahushua was weeping and sweating as though it was blood, and didn't want to go through with it, but said, this is what the Most High calls of me, and this is what I'm going to do. So he did it joyfully and cheerfully. And we see right here, Abraham greatly rejoiced at the words of Isaac. This is the same thing. This is my son, and in him I am well pleased. Get that? So we're seeing the same story over and over again. And understand that. Well, we'll get to that if I remember. All right, go ahead, brother. I think we were
at verse
59. I think.
Verse 59. And Abraham took the wood and placed it in order upon the altar which he had built. And he took his son Isaac and bound him in order to place him upon the wood which was upon the altar, to slay him for a burnt offering before the Lord. And Isaac said to his father, bind me securely, and then place me upon the altar, lest I should turn and move and break loose.
Who said this?
And Isaac said to his father, bind me securely and then place me upon the altar, lest I should turn and move and break loose from the force of the knife upon my flesh, and therefore profane the burnt offering. And Abraham did so.
Isaac said, I'm going to be the best sacrifice I can possibly be.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, look, tie me up so I don't move. I know this is going to hurt. I know it's going to be painful. And because of that, I might flinch. I might turn. I might do something. But you know what? This is dedicated to the Most High. I don't want to mess this up. Tie me as tight as you can. Tie me securely so we can do this, do it unto the Most High. Dedicated, man. Go on, brother. 62.
God, verse 62. And Isaac still said to his father, O my father, when thou shalt have slain me and burnt me for an offering, take with thee that which shall remain of my ashes to bring to Sarah my mother, and say to her, this is the sweet smelling savior of Isaac. But do not tell her this if she should sit near a well or upon any high place, lest she should cast her soul after me and die. And Abraham heard the words of Isaac, and he lifted up his voice and wept when Isaac spoke these words. And Abraham's tears gushed down upon Isaac his son, and Isaac wept bitterly. And he said to his father, hasten thou, O my father, and do with me the will of the Lord our God, as he has commanded thee.
So we're seeing the utter devotion and focus on doing what the Most High wants, despite the tremendous amount of pain they are going through, both of them. Do we see this? They are both going through a tremendous crying, gushing out tears, weeping, complete bitter sorrow, even bitter sorrow about the thought about their mother, about Sarai finding out about this. It's anguish. Understand, the father is in anguish about the sacrifice, and the son is in anguish about the sacrifice. Yet they are still willing to do it. Types and shadows. We understand? All right, go ahead. 64.
Verse 64. And the hearts of Abraham and Isaac rejoiced at this thing which the Lord had commanded them, but the eye wept bitterly while the heart rejoiced. And
didn't it say it pleased him? It said it pleased the Most High to, I forgot what it said. Basically, this, I can't remember whether it was to slay his son or to
we quoting, I think you quoting in Isaiah 53. You talking about with Yahushua?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like Isaiah 53.
It pleased him to do something to his son.
Grab it real quick. You got a minute?
Okay. Yeah, this is all about you.
Yet it says, Isaiah 53 and 10, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Are you talking about that one?
That's exactly what I was talking about. And so we see this being played out between Abraham and Isaac, correct?
God.
We're seeing all of this. So we have to understand that this is the Most High trying to communicate to us that he is making a great sacrifice. He is making a great sacrifice. He was the first one to sacrifice. It wasn't us. It was him. All right, go ahead, brother. I think we're at 65 now.
Verse 65. And Abraham bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar upon the wood. And Isaac stretched forth his neck upon the altar before his father. And Abraham stretched forth his hand to take the knife to slay his son as a burnt offering before the Lord.
A willing sacrifice. 69.
At that time, the Lord appeared unto Abraham and called to him from heaven and said unto him, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest Yahweh in performing this act.
We're going to go down to 70. 70. We're going to go down to 78.
Okay. And where are we? Hold on. The scroller lost me. All right, verse 69. God, okay. I know that thou fearest God in performing this act, and in not withholding thy son, thy only son, from me. Verse 70. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw, and beheld, a ram was caught in a thicket by his horns. That was the ram which the Lord God had created in the earth in the day that he made earth and heaven.
Pause, I want you to pause. We got to pause on this, right? We got to pause on this. Two different things, right? So he said, "Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know thou fearest God in performing this act, and in not withholding thy son." This is Yah talking about himself. He's not withholding his son, his only son, from even from himself. This is how much he loves us. He's not even withholding his only son from us. Yeah. And then remember, it says he was. I'm terrible at remembering scripts, but he talks about basically how he was prepared from the beginning of the world for slaughter. I can't remember that scripture. I know I quoted that one terribly. Nobody probably knows what I'm talking about. But he was prepared from the beginning of the world, to be the one that's slain. So see what this says in 70. That was and Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, a ram was caught in the thicket by his horns. That was the ram or sheep, which the Lord God had created in the earth in the day that he made the earth and heaven. So this is the lamb that was created for slaughter from the beginning of creation. This is representing Yahushua. We see this? All right. Yeah. Okay, cool. 71.
Verse 71. For the Lord had prepared this ram from that day to be a burnt offering instead of Isaac. And the ram was advancing to Abraham when Satan caught hold of him and entangled his horns in the thicket, that he might not advance to Abraham, in order that Abraham might slay his son. Satan is a bama, man.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. And we can see this playing out. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy, right? So of course, the burnt offering instead of Isaac. So the ram now is going to take the place of the son. So and of course that means that what's going to happen in the future is Yahushua is going to take the place of Israel. And remember, Israel is also called a only begotten son. So he's taking the place of Israel. So we're seeing things played out symbolically. We're also seeing a little bit of revelation here with Hasatan, or the red dragon that's trying to catch up the woman. I think that's a revelation. You know what I'm talking about?
In the wilderness.
You're right.
It is. Come on.
Yeah.
So we're seeing all of this going on because he's trying to stop the prophecy from happening. Like you said, Hasatan, this dude, man.
He a trip, man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Where am I? I think 72. I read. Okay. And verse 72, and this was the ram, Salaki, and this ram was advancing to Abraham when Satan caught hold of him and entangled his horns in the thicket, that he might not advance to Abraham, in order that Abraham might slay his son. Mm-hmm. And Abraham, seeing the ram advancing to him and Satan withholding him, fetched him and brought him before the altar, and he loosened his son Isaac from his binding. And he put the ram in his stead, and Abraham killed the ram upon the altar and brought it up as an offering in the place of his son Isaac. Mm-hmm. And Abraham sprinkled some of the blood of the ram upon the altar, and he exclaimed and said, "This is the place of my son, and may this be considered this day as the blood of my son before the Lord."
Mm-hmm.
And all that Abraham did on this occasion by the altar, he would exclaim and say, "This is in the room of my son, and may it this day be considered before the Lord in the place of my son." Mm-hmm. And Abraham finished the whole of the service by the altar, and the service was accepted before the Lord and was accounted as if it had been Isaac. And the Lord blessed Abraham and his seed on that day.
So we know what story this is, right? We see it being played out. Yahweh in the place of Israel, as though it was Israel that was actually being slain, but it's the lamb, it's that ram, it's Yahweh that's taking the place.
God.
Same thing, man. Go ahead, 76.
Verse 76. And Satan went to Sarah, and he appeared to her in the figure of an old man, very humble and meek. And Abraham was yet engaged in the burnt offering before the Lord.
All right, Con, real quick. So we remember when Hasatan went to Abraham, he couldn't overthrow him. He went to Isaac. Isaac wasn't 100% sure, but he didn't go for it. He went and sought the covering. He sought his father. All right. Now, Sarah is not with them right now because she didn't go on this mission with them. They're still out there. They're finishing up the sacrifice and stuff like that. So what is, like you said, your boy Hasatan? I don't want to say your boy. This dude Hasatan. Now he goes to Sarah. He went to Eve, right? Let's see what happens. So he went and he changed his appearance, just as he did with Eve. He changed his appearance again. Let's go to 77 and 78.
Verse 77, and he said unto her, doest thou not know all the work that Abraham has made with thy only son this day? For he took Isaac and built an altar and killed him, and he brought him up as a sacrifice upon the altar. And Isaac cried and wept before his father, but he looked not at him, neither did he have compassion over him.
Right. And so he's lying. He's lying to Sarah. He's lying to her. All right, go ahead. 78.
God. And Satan repeated these words, and he went away from her. And Sarah heard all the words of Satan, and she imagined him to be an old man from amongst the sons of men who had been with her son and had come and told her these things.
Right.
And
I think I skipped. Go ahead.
You want me to keep reading 79?
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and you can go ahead and read this.
79. And Sarah lifted up her voice and wept and cried out bitterly on account of her son. And she threw herself upon the ground, and she cast dust upon her head. And she said, O my son, Isaac, my son, oh, that I had this day died instead of thee. And she continued to weep and said, it grieves me for thee, O my son Isaac, oh, that I have died this day in thy stead. And she still continued to weep and said, it grieves me for thee. After that, I have reared thee and have brought thee up. Now my joy is turned into mourning over thee. I that had a longing for thee and cried and prayed to God till I bare thee at 90 years old. And now hast thou served this day for the knife and the fire to be made an offering.
So she's in complete anguish over and over and over again. Let's go to let me see. Let's go to 86.
God. And behold, Satan came to Sarah in the shape of an old man, and he came and stood before her, and he said unto her, I spoke falsely unto you, for Abraham did not kill his son, and he is not dead. And when she heard the word, her joy was so exceedingly violent on account of her son, that her soul went out through joy. She died and was gathered to her people. And when Abraham had finished his service, he returned with his son Isaac to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and they came home.
So she got so excited to find out that her son wasn't in fact dead that she over celebrated to the point where she collapsed and died, basically, off of Hasatan. And she was not with her covering at that point, and she did not see the lies of Hasatan. We see that the man of the Most High, Abraham and Isaac, saw the Hasatan for what he was. The woman, which is the weaker vessel, did not, and she got tricked, and she got killed. Well, she ended up dying because of that. So that lets us know how important the order of the Most High is, and how important it is for us to cover our ladies, and also how important it is for our ladies to understand they need a covering. It's they need it. You need it, ladies, for your own protection. For your own protection. Let's go to 89 and 90.
Verse 89. And Abraham and Isaac went to her to Hebron, and when they found that she was dead, they lifted up their voices and wept bitterly over her. And Isaac fell upon his mother's face and wept over her. And he said, "Oh, my mother, how hast thou left me? And where hast thou gone? Oh, how hast thou left me?" And Abraham and Isaac wept greatly, and all their servants wept with them on account of Sarah, and they mourned over her a great and heavy mourning.
So this is what we see here. Who was the mother of the Israelites? Who was considered the woman? That might be a difficult question. Israel is referred to as the woman. The nation, the entity, the nation of Israel is considered the woman. So think about all of the prophets when the Israelites were slain and gone into captivity and all these other different things. Sorrow, lamentations, bitter crying, weeping. This is what the prophets did. This is what the Israelites were going through when Israel as a nation, the woman, the mother, died. Do we understand this? Sarah died. We see the weeping and the mourning over the woman dying. Do we understand how what the connection is? Are we able to see that? Maybe I didn't say it clearly enough. All right, but so we're seeing this is all.
I mean, Salaki King. What I see is that it's very important that we, as Israel, stay in total line with Yahweh and Yahushua to come to be under him in the protection of him. And it's just important it's very, very important for the man to be this way unto Yahushua and Yahweh. It's just as important to the woman, our women, absolutely, our sisters, to be in line with this truth as well. It's a detriment when they don't. So it's left to us to guide them and lead them and teach them.
The key is
they have to have the order. A lot of our sisters are destroyed for not knowing this. A lot of the kings are destroyed for not knowing this.
Brothers and sisters, and when we think about when we look at that account of Abraham and Isaac, their whole situation was I don't care about myself. The mission is what is my father's business. Dedication. The mission is my father, exactly. Dedication.
And I just want, Salaki also, I just want to say, I know we're moving fast. I just also want to say that this is a very important note for us as Awaken Israel to take, because we have a lot of opposition that's trying to throw us off the mission.
Constantly. But that's part of it. So if we go back to that first video that we showed about the woman that was that was unhappy in her marriage, but she said, "Look, you got to learn to be unhappy in your marriage and understand that it's okay, because the goal is to get to the end of it. If you stick with it, it's going to get better. But there are going to be times when we have to understand that it's unhappy, that is difficult. So this is the same thing as our marriage with Yahushua, and we're seeing all of these things played out in these scriptures and stuff like that. Let's do John 3:16, which many of our unknown brothers and sisters love. We're going to do John 16 and John 16 and 17.
John 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
John
John 3, 16 and 17. Sorry about that.
Salaki, that's my bad. All right, I'll take it. I'll read it.
All right.
John chapter 3. verse 16 and 17. This is the book of John, chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that he would through him might be saved.
So of course we know that world is the world of Israel. And so that account in Jasher, a lot of times, we've talked about this before, a lot of times we look at this whole situation as, hey, that's God, that's Jesus, that's Yahushua. They can do anything. No, yes, they can do anything. However, what we don't consider is the amount of pain and the sacrifice that they have made for us. We just think about ourselves most of the time. We don't consider them. So that bit in Jasher is very because we can relate to it as humans and relate to Abraham and relate to Isaac and Sarah and the anguish that it goes through, that one would go through with those type of sacrifices and having to deal with those things that you're asked for. We can understand that. So he had to make it in that. He had to make that play out for us, for our understanding, and for us to understand that. Yeah, we think about, man, I got to sacrifice this, I got to sacrifice that. I can't do this, I can't do that. I got to keep this law. I want to eat some lobster or whatever it is. I don't know. So we think about the stuff that we can't do. We do not think about the sacrifice that they made / making. They made / are making. You understand? So this goes back to the question about, if a man or a woman or whoever has to take on, if a man has to take on a wife, he's sacrificing because he has to provide. He has to take on the responsibility of another one's life. If a man and a woman are to take on an orphan child, that child has all kinds of trauma. So this man and this woman have to sacrifice an easier life so that they can do things for and help out this traumatized child. So they're making a great sacrifice. The Most High sacrificed total peace in order to have a son. And then that son, he and that son sacrificed their total peace so that they could have us. They sacrificed, they in paradise already. They sacrificed that for us. So just like Abraham and Isaac were not focused on their pain, though they were in immense pain. They were in immense pain. For the sake of the order, for the sake of the mission, they forsook themselves for their king. So we have to, just like you said, Q, we have to be of that same order and understand what the end mission is, what the whole mission is. And it's our Father's business. We got one more video to look at, and then we'll close. All right, let me get this on. It was late, guys. But I get excited about this one. But anyway, here we go.
So what's your name? My name is Matilda.
So real quick, all right, fair use. And we see that the caption up here says, interviewing my 16-year-old 1 year after becoming her mom. So this is an adopted child, okay? So again, they go through some stuff, okay? Let's just listen. This is this end of the story.
So what's your name? My name is Matilda. How old are you? 16. Ooh. So what's one word that would describe your life before you came with me? What's one word that describes your life after? Peaceful.
After we come to the Father, peaceful.
Oh, I love that. So what's one of the biggest changes that you've noticed in yourself since last May?
My self-confidence.
What do you love most about yourself?
My nose.
Oh, I love it.
You gotta love herself.
What's something you've learned about yourself that you didn't know before?
My speaking skills are never true.
learned that?
Not as easy as it seemed like it was as before. Like before, it was a lot.
You didn't have like a lot of serious conversations.
I just thought I didn't have meaning when I used to talk. Now I have to have it.
It didn't have meaning when she used to talk. So she wasn't awakened yet.
But what's one memory that stands out in your mind the past year?
Like breakfast. Just when we was in the car and he was talking to me about God. That's really, he was in the garage.
Who or what has been your biggest source of inspiration and support? Me? Oh, you're so sweet. That's God. That's God. If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would you tell yourself?
You're beautiful.
Yes, you are. What's one thing that you appreciate most about our family?
The family.
Oh.
It is a family. It's the family.
What's something that you didn't eat before, or you didn't know you liked, or you didn't like before that you like to eat now?
Pancakes.
What's something that you thought you liked before, but now you don't like?
Canned food.
That's pretty much the end. So the point is, at the end of all of this heartbreak and torture, if we think about the woman that was in an unhappy marriage, but she's going to persist and stay on the mission of the marriage, even though she's not happy at the time. If we think about the disaster of those horrible parents that dropped the girl off when she was 18 years old, and she's homeless, disaster. And then we come through all this and we see the end of a story in a positive way after all of this turmoil and trauma and stuff. So there's a lot that has to go on. We've caused a lot of trauma. We've caused a lot of hurt. Just as a troubled youth is challenges and causes that their parent, challenges and makes it tough on them. We've done the same thing to Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. But what we have to remember is they loved us first. They sacrificed first. So we don't even have a right to gripe about the little sacrifices. I'm not going to say little, but to gripe about the sacrifices that they ask us to do. And it's only for our own good in the first place. They're telling us to do things for our own good. But so we just have to remember that the Father and the Son, and mainly the Father, because it was the sacrifice all comes from the Father. He gave up his only Son for the sake of his family. For the sake of his family. And the Son was a willing sacrifice to go along and follow along with his Father's mission for the sake of his family. And just as Q said, we have to keep that in mind for the sake of our family, Israel. We have to go through some things. We're traumatized. We have to go through some things so we can make it to the Father and make it to that family, because the family is the thing that's treasured. We have to understand that we're beautiful, just like the little girl said. So these are just some things to put this in perspective. At another time, we'll talk about sacrifice on a different level, but we just wanted to kind of go through this so we can have some perspective, not our own for once, but perspective of the Father and the Son. Does it make sense, guys?
It makes 100% sense.
And I also wanted to, go through a few things that are in Jasher that a lot of people have not experienced that book and don't know the truth about Melchizedek and Shem and all of these different things. And that's the inner workings, that longer story of Isaac, the more detailed story of Isaac and Abraham. And we still, even though we took a long time, and there's still so much more fruit in our book. So I suggest everyone take a look at that. But with
I
that,
gotta go buy it. I gotta get it.
Absolutely. And it's definitely widely available right now. So it's, you'll gain a lot from that one for sure. A lot. All right, everybody. It's pretty late. I thank you guys for sticking in there with me. And I'll go ahead and say a prayer. Father, again, thank you so much for your sacrificing your son. And Yahweh, I thank you for being a willing sacrifice for us who do not deserve what you have done for us. We thank you for leaving us examples and being so patient with us, not just throughout all of time, but even in our small lifetimes at this point, being patient with us. We have no perspective. We're trying to gain that, and we are gaining a slight bit because of you and you giving us understanding. And we thank you for that. Father, help us to hold that clear and close to our heart so that we understand and we know how to move, and that we become willing sacrifices for your order and for your commandments and for our brothers and sisters and for our family, just like you have been, both Yahweh and Yahweh Shai have been for us. Help us to take it to heart and help us to live this thing out properly so that you can say, in us, you are well pleased. That's just the highest honor ever. So please, Father, again, forgive us for our sins and help correct us and get us on track, because with you and with our King is where we desire to be. In Yahweh Shai's name, we pray and we thank you. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Wonderful.
Amen. Amen.
All right, man.
Wonderful Bible study.
I appreciate it. Hallelujah, man. Well, shalom, ladies and gentlemen. Let's
Shalom, King.
Shalom, everyone.
I got 100 more questions, King.
Huh?
I have 100 more questions.
Look, the bad thing, look, that straight face was for real, everybody.
But yeah, that was great Bible study, King. That's great.
Wonderful thing, man. Hey, hallelujah.
Really, really informal.
I'm about to do a part 2 with the 100 questions, dog. Well, hey, man. Hey, love you all, man. Y'all take care, and we'll do this again sometime soon.
All right, King. Shalom.
Shalom.
Rockathon, Awaken Israel. Rockathon, everyone.
Shalom, Rockathon.
Shalom.
Recording stop.
Shalom. For those listening, the next Bible study will be live next Thursday, I believe, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, US, and for those in the UK, it will be 12 p.m. midnight. Shalom, shalom.